This right here, my friends, is the CL220 by Colbor. This is a 250 watt light, and the reason why I said yes to this thing is that they actually wanted me to compare this to pretty much all the other lights that I've had, and I thought I had the Smallrig. I think it was the 220 watt RC220 or RC200, something like that. But I actually got the RC350, and I was like, that's a bit of an unfair comparison. I do have the SL200 by Godox Mark II that's lighting me right now, which I'll compare it to, and I've also got the Nanlite 300B, which you'd think, oh, you know, that's a bigger light, and you got to think, look at the size difference between the Nanlite 300B and the Colbor 220, and the Nanlite actually has a full ballast system that you actually have to connect it to. So, you know, this is the all-in-one, doesn't have a ballast. You just connect it directly into that AC power adapter and you're pretty much good to go. But we're going to be talking about these ones in comparison to the other lights, the prices, what you actually get with this. But it's a pretty bold move by Colbor to say, hey, do you want to check out these lights and actually compare it to other lights? That's interesting, and I'm very excited to test this out and see if it's actually worth the money in comparison to these other lights. Let's get into it. So the Colbor CL220 is an all-new 220 watt bicolor film and video lighting for content creators. It has a color temperature of 2700 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin, while the CL220M is a daylight cob light. It claims an ultra-bright 105,000 lux at 1 meter distance, which they say is 25% brighter than those of the same output on the market. It has a CRI of 96 and a TLCI of 97. It weighs only a total of 1.57 kilos, which is about 50% lighter of those of the same output. You can currently get the CL220 at $319 US, or you can actually get the daylight version at $299 US. And there are a few different accessories you can actually get with the Colbor at its own added price. So right off the bat, when it comes to the output, I was extremely impressed with the output of this. This is a 250 max watt output, and you can see here the output chart. The Smallrig RC350B obviously is the most powerful out of the bunch here. But what was most interesting, the Colbor light was pretty much exactly the same as the Nanlite 300B, and it was, you know, miles ahead of the SL200. This is a maximum output at 100%, 75%, 50%, and 25%. Now, I am really impressed about the power output on this thing, and this is the fan output. We'll put it at 100%, and you pretty much can't hear anything. This is in smart mode. You can go to 100% in smart mode, whereas quiet mode, it's pretty much just as quiet as this, maybe a little bit quieter, but it only takes you to 50%. But the only problem with this smart mode, when you're at 100%, it heats up quite a lot. But there is a third mode, which is performance, and it's loud. Like if you had an interview, you probably couldn't run the interview with performance mode, but it does cool it down quite a lot, obviously because the fan is going a lot harder, but yeah, it's just not really usable unless it's quite a distance away. It's definitely usable. You're just using it as an ambient light, outdoors, coming inside. That's perfectly fine, but it is significantly louder than the smart mode. So take it or leave it. It's up to you. Now, I think one of the best things about these ones, and also their smaller versions, is that they have these rail systems on the side, and you can actually connect 2 lights or 3 lights together, 4 lights, however many lights you want together on these rail systems. So you can actually make these bigger and more powerful, and actually a lot cheaper than other lights. So if you got 2 or 3 of these lights, that's actually better than getting, you know, a massive 1200 watt, you know, Evoke, which is incredible, and it would be 1/10 of the price, and that is completely mind-blowing. Now, when you do actually have 2 or 3 devices or 4 devices, you can actually utilize the app as well, which makes this thing very, very versatile, because if these are in positions where you cannot physically reach it, then you actually can access it through the app. But that is the advantage of having a ballast, is that generally your ballast is attached to your light stand, so its dials are right there, nice and easy, while the light is, you know, up in a very high position, something like that. But it really depends on your workflow as well. Some people don't like the ballast, some people like just the all-in-one body, or some people prefer the ballast. And obviously the interesting thing about the ballast is that you can connect the V-mount batteries directly to that. But they actually make a V-mount battery slot that goes directly in here that you can have a single V-mount battery or a dual V-mount battery that connects to this and powers it directly. And I know a lot of other companies have an app, but this one seems to work really, really well. As soon as you pair it once, all you need to do is literally open up the app and then go back to that group, and then you can adjust it literally straight away. It just makes it so much quicker, especially if you are on set and you need to make quick adjustments. Literally just open up the app, go back to where you've paired it, and then you can make full adjustments with the intensity, but you can also adjust 2700 Kelvin all the way up to 6500 Kelvin. It gives you a few different options as well if you want to try and, you know, be a little bit creative and old school and put CTOs or CTBs, you know, color temperature blue or color temperature orange, over the top of, you know, the light and give it a few different tones. But it gives you actual settings as well in terms of just industry standard colors, as say, but you can make the adjustments by yourself anyway. I just like the ability that you can actually control this through the app really, really quickly, and you can group all the lights together. So if you adjust one light, it'll adjust all the others at the same time. And within those, you can actually have 10 lighting effects as well. And then within those 10 lighting effects, you can change the rate, which is the different sort of level. You can change the dimness, or you can sometimes change the CCT, so the color temperature, depending on which effect you're actually utilizing. It just gives this light so much more versatility. Now, in terms of the color representation, it's really hard because I did watch a video a while ago. I think it was Make Art Now, Joshio. He pretty much said that a lot of the CRI and TLCI, you can actually kind of cheat the results a little bit to make it look like it's, you know, very accurate. So they are pretty much all the same across the board. They're a CRI of, I think, 96 and a TLCI of 97, something like that. They're all exactly the same. So whether they are exactly the same, I don't know, and I can't tell you because I don't have a light meter to actually, you know, accurately test these, but you just have to take their word on that. But what I did actually notice is that all the lights in 5600 Kelvin did look pretty much the same, but the Nanlite was a little bit cooler, and you could see it in the waveforms. It's, you know, showing a little bit more of the blue channel, which is interesting. I don't know what that was about, but they were all set to 5600 in the test. I guess the one thing about the build quality is that this right here feels like a plastic design, but the inside of this is completely metal, which, you know, obviously is a really good thing. But if you completely tighten this up, would it break? I'm not sure. I don't know. The handle is plastic. If you overcrank this, would it eventually break? I can't speak for it, but it is plastic. You do have to take that into consideration, which majority of these other brands are metal. So realistically, when it comes down to price, I think the Amaran 200X seems to be about, you know, the best competitor at $349, whereas the Smallrig RC 220B is about $369, and then you actually have the Nanlite FS 200B, which is about $349 as well. And obviously the Colbor 220 is $319. So it seems to be about, you know, $40 to $50 cheaper than their counterparts. And it is more powerful, it's lighter, and seems to have a little bit more versatility than the rest. Now look, overall, when it comes to lights, that's one thing that you really should be investing in, because at the end of the day, it's extremely important. If you don't have good lighting on your subject, it's going to look flat, it's going to look boring, or it's just not accurate, or it's dull. You won't get the job, you won't get a good piece. Lighting is extremely important, and I cannot stress that enough. And when it comes to these lights, you know, you just can't look past them, because sure, the Smallrig is really cheap as well. The Colbor ones are really cheap. Nanlite and Aputure are the brands that are generally a little bit more expensive. Godox is a little bit under that. So they're the big leading brands that all these smaller brands are chasing. And Colbor, I think, is doing a really, really good job. I did have their, I think it was the CL100, which is their first light version that came out, and it was full plastic design, but they have done an iteration after that and upgraded it, made it a metal design, and this complete modular design as well, where you can link them together. So that's probably one of the best things about these things, is that you can link them together, make them a bigger light, and pretty much run them off one light stand. So I think at the end of the day, these ones definitely do come recommended because of the size, because of the price, and obviously the features that it actually comes with. In terms of durability, not 100% sure. It's slightly less, durable than the Nanlite, than the Aputure or the Godox, but I think they're built quite well. But anyway, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, give it a thumbs up. That would be absolutely amazing. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And obviously the link will be in the description below if you do want to check these lights out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Let's get it.